you for us.
Nancy? No.
Good evening, everyone. It is June 4th, 2024, and I'm going to call this meeting of the Laramie City Council to order and invite you all to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. And just as a note, I believe in 2 days is the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Thank you, Councilor O'Doherty, for that reminder. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Gabriel.
Here.
Newman.
Here.
O'Doherty.
Here.
Pierce.
Here.
Richardson. Absent. Shumway.
Here.
Somerville. Absent. Cumby. Absent. Harrington.
Here.
That's 6 present and 3 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. I'm going to go ahead and open up public comment for non-agenda items. If there's a member of the public wishing to speak to the council on an item that is not on our agenda this evening, go ahead and come forward if you're in the room. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. We're going to move on to changes in the agenda. Councilor Pierce.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I move that the following changes to the agenda be approved. To move item number 9E from the consent agenda to item 10A on the regular agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion by Pierce, seconded by Newman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Okay. Councilor Pierce, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the agenda be set as changed.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Pierce, seconded by Gabriel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. All right, the agenda has been set. We're going to move on to proclamations, public hearings, and notifications, and begin. We have 4 proclamations this evening, and I have the pleasure of kicking us off with the Pride Fest proclamation. Whereas Laramie Pride Fest was founded in 2017 to raise awareness about Wyoming's LGBTQ+ community and their contributions to Laramie's unique, diverse tapestry in a positive and productive manner. Whereas the 8th annual Laramie Pride Fest is the most visible event in Laramie for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer community, their friends, their allies, and their families to express pride in who they are and whom they love. Whereas Laramie Pride Fest is dedicated to ensuring that Wyoming's LGBTQ+ community has a safe and inclusive environment to celebrate and honor their sexual orientations and gender identities. Whereas Laramie Pride Fest joins annual Pride celebrations across the United States and the world in commemorating June 2024 as the 55th anniversary of the Stonewall Riots, the birthplace of the modern fight for LGBTQ+ justice and equity. Whereas LGBTQ+ citizens, led by trans women of color Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, resisted police harassment that arose out of discriminatory criminal laws and have since been declared unconstitutional during the Stonewall riots. Whereas in the 5 decades since civil rights for the LGBTQ+ community have expanded substantially, and Pride celebrations across the country and world have taken place every June to commemorate the beginning of the Stonewall riots. Whereas Laramie Pride Fest will raise awareness about Wyoming's LGBTQ+ community and their contributions to Laramie's unique, diverse tapestry in a positive and productive manner. Whereas Wyoming's LGBTQ+ community will celebrate Pride during the month of June with events happening throughout the state in municipalities including Alta, Casper, Cheyenne, Green River, Jackson, Lander, Laramie, Mills, Pinedale, Rock Springs, and Sheridan. Whereas Wyoming's LGBTQ+ community are living authentically today more than ever before, and they deserve to know the City of Laramie and the State of Wyoming support them. Whereas the City of Laramie celebrates its diverse LGBTQ+ community and is committed to ensuring equity for all Laramie citizens by fostering acceptance and preventing discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Whereas the cities of Laramie, Casper, and Jackson are the only municipalities in the state of Wyoming that have adopted a non-discrimination ordinance that prevents its residents from being discriminated against based upon their sexual orientation and gender identities through employment, public accommodations, and housing practices. Whereas the LGBTQ+ community is a vital part of Laramie's economy and culture and contributes to a stronger city. Whereas Laramie's economy and culture are more prosperous when the civil rights of all people are equal and we recognize the LGBTQ+ community as being vital to Laramie's success as an economically strong and culturally vibrant city. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Brian Harrington, acting as the mayor and president of the governing body of the city of Laramie, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2024 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer Pride Month in Laramie, and congratulate the 8th Annual Laramie Pride Fest, and encourage residents in Laramie and across the Equality State to join Laramie Pride Fest in celebrations and recognitions of the accomplishments, history, and legacy of Wyoming's LGBTQ+ community. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the city of Laramie to be affixed this 4th day of June 2024. And council, we have several folks here that are welcome to come up. I have Ariel, Rose Gardner, Nicholas, Jesse, Rachel Lang, Kelly McCleary, Anna Rader, Courtney Titus. And if there's others, you're all welcome. I mean, please come on forward to the podium, and we'll take a photo as well. But go ahead and share anything you'd like to.
Good evening, Council in Laramie. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come and just engage with the community on behalf of Laramie Pride Fest. My name is Nicholas Jesse. I am the current presiding chair of the 501c3 nonprofit here in town. Behind me is my crew of support. I'm going to open it up to them to say something if they wish, but just wanted to let everyone know here that as someone who was born and raised here in Laramie, the visibility of Laramie Pride Fest and just Pride Month in general in this town is so meaningful to me. I was born here 30 years ago, and to see how far we've come as a city, even in that time, has been so meaningful to me as a local resident. So, and not only to me, but to folks who come from out of town and from other spaces across the world. So thank you all so much for recognizing us and giving us this space and this visibility.
Thank you, Nicholas. Anyone else? Welcome.
Welcome to you too. Thank you. I meant.
Love it.
I am so exhausted because Pride Week does start at the end of this week and through next week, so we are in throes of planning. But my name is Courtney Titus, and I'm a long-time Wyoming resident, originally from Cheyenne, but have called Laramie my home and consider it my home for all the years to come. And I just wanted to reiterate and emphasize how proud it makes me to work alongside these wonderful people and you all in City Council and all the other residents of Laramie in a current national political climate that is motivated by common rhetoric or tropes or stereotypes. It is affirming to me, and it reminds me of why we all love Wyoming and why we all have chosen to make our homes here and raise our children here and grow up here. So I'm just really proud to be a part of a community that emphasizes the good and individuality of every single person that is in their community and does things our own Wyoming way. So thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Anyone else? Please, welcome.
Hi there, I'm Rose Gardner. I was born and raised here. My family has long ties. Being here, I'm a third generation Laramigo, I guess. So I just wanted to say, so I'm quote unquote the old fogey of the group. So at ripe old age of 36, and I have seen a lot of change in this town and this community, and I view so much of it as positive. And it means the world that this is one of our, that Laramie Pride Fest has been established, that we're growing and going strong, and that this is one of our oldest traditions to do, by the way, is to do this proclamation with the city. And it means a lot that this collaboration has always been one of the starter points for us, and that there have been a lot of really wonderful opportunities that the city has really encouraged us to do, and we have just been expanding and growing. And not only that, I think there's just been a lot of community support for a lot of really awesome opportunities. And I just want to shout out my appreciation for that, and welcome, of course, everyone here and anyone that's watching. We, of course, have many celebrations throughout the week. We especially have our Pride in the Park celebration on June 15th. We also have, our drag show on June 14th. But we are everything that we are doing is community-oriented, although community is welcome, age, depending on what the event is, it's age-appropriate, but Pride in the Park is for all ages, and we love doing that in a big community space, and we're so excited. So, and we just thank everyone.
Thank you. All right. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you so much for doing this. My name is Kelly McCleary. I'm one of the board members for Laramie Pride Fest, and I just want to express my thanks and appreciation for your collaboration and recognition this month. This partnership is extremely important to us, and we recognize how fortunate we are to have community partners like you offering this public recognition. Not all of our friends are equally as lucky around the state, and so this means so much to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. I'll invite you all up for a photo if you would like. We'd love to have you.
Back here. And then if you guys want to follow Todd.
You just get inside. All right, our next proclamation, Councillor Shumway is going to read. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. It's an honor to read this proclamation, and before I read this, I want to say how grateful we are as a city, as a council, and as a community for all the work that the curmudgeons do. Here's the proclamation. In recognition of the High Plains Curmudgeon Society, whereas a group of 9 semi-retired gentlemen and curmudgeons supporters, known as the High Plains Curmudgeon Society, approached the city of Laramie for the 15th consecutive year regarding community service projects and volunteering their skills, knowledge, and labor for the city of Laramie. Whereas the Parks and Recreation Department developed a list of community service projects and needs that the staff would like to see complete, but due to time and budget constraints have not been able to complete. And whereas the High Plains Curmudgeon Society worked a minimum of 1 day each week from 9 o'clock a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. from January through the end of May for more than 1,000 hours of volunteer community service, completing the projects, and whereas the community service projects completed by the High Plains Curmudgeon Society included refurbishing the Edgar J. Lewis bandshell storage rooms, constructing a chainsaw repair and service bench, refurbishing the tables for the downtown parklets, including new from Iron Shoes buildings, building a new bench for the Lark, and painting garbage cans. Now, therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Laramie, do hereby proclaim our sincere thanks to members of the High Plains Curmudgeon Society, Glenn Phillips, Donald Gleaves, Donald Saltman, Jack Corson, John Duvall, Lowell Bangeter, Michael Markham, Tom Bailey, and Walt Gasson for their community service for the City of Laramie Service Partners and our residents. In recognition whereof, the Mayor Brian Harrington and President of the City Council, on behalf of him, has heretofore put his hand and caused that the official seal of the City of Laramie be affixed to this on this date of the 4th day of June, 2024. So, if you would please come forward. I believe Lowell Bangerter is going to say a few words, and then any of the rest of you that want to can say something. And we appreciate the supporters that have come with you also. Lowell, go ahead.
Thank you all.
I hadn't expected to speak to this group tonight. Our illustrious leader, Clint Phillips, was going to occupy this opportunity. Last year, I told you why we do this. This group is composed of men whom you might visualize sitting in their recliners watching TV and not doing much else. This group of men that I associate with consists of men who are over 80 years old, who have been here for more than 50 years. And as I said last year in this place, the reason we do this is our town. We're committed to this town. We're committed to serving the town. We meet once a week. This year it's been on Thursdays. And we work together in harmony. There isn't a one of us that has a background in construction or carpentry or any of those things. And yet, whatever the city asks us to do, we do. And we do it the very best that we can. The thing that stands out in my mind is the confidence that the city has placed in us. We are grateful that they allow us to be productive in our retirement years, as it were. We're grateful to those who tolerate us in the shop downtown as we pursue our projects. We're grateful for the opportunity to have an impact on Laramie. And I think I can say without being overly dramatic, you can hardly find a place in this town where we haven't been and done something constructive. And we want to continue to serve as long as we can. Thank you.
Gentlemen, come on up. We'd like a picture with you.
Lowell, if you'll give that to the city clerk, she'll make copies for everybody.
I want to make sure you all have it.
She's right there.
City clerk is Nancy, right?
The one taking the picture, if you'll give that to her.
Get it in a minute, though. For now, we just need your smiling faces.
There we go.
All right, let's change you. We always try to. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The parklet downtown is so beautiful.
It's been a while. Said it all.
Not there yet.
Give me a couple more years.
All right, yeah, the mosquito control department is entirely here. Counselor O'Doherty is going to take Mosquito Control Awareness Week.
Because I have a fondness for aquatic insects, except for mosquitoes. In recognition of National Mosquito Control Awareness Week. Oh, maybe we should let, yeah, that's.
Don't rush folks out.
No, I don't.
You got a bit of a transition. All right, Counselor O'Doherty, go ahead.
In recognition of National Mosquito Control Awareness Week, whereas the American Mosquito Control Association is an international organization dedicated to providing leadership, information, and education leading to the enhancement of public health and quality of life through the suppression of mosquitoes, and whereas the American Mosquito Control Association is dedicated to preserving the public's health and well-being through the use of safe, environmentally sound mosquito control programs since 1935, and whereas the City of Laramie, in cooperation with the Albany County Weed and Pest Board, has been involved in the mosquito control activities since 1976. Whereas the mosquito control section of the Parks and Rec Department treats approximately 70,000 acres of rural and urban property in a 12-mile radius around Laramie, and whereas the mosquito control program follows an integrated pest management approach that includes control methods by the most economical means with the least possible pesticide exposure to people, property, and the environment. And whereas the City of Laramie has an approved West Nile virus plan to detect and reduce the risk of human infection associated with West Nile virus, and whereas due to the efforts of the mosquito control program, the quality of outdoor summer activities in Laramie is improved, along with reducing the risk of mosquito-borne illnesses. Now, therefore, Brian Harrington, Mayor of the City of Laramie, does proclaim the week of June 16th through June 22nd as National Mosquito Awareness Week for the City of Laramie, and call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing mosquito control services, to recognize the contributions which mosquito control personnel make every day to our health and safety and quality of life. That's it, yeah.
Great, thank you. Hunter, come on forward, please. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Council, and thank y'all for bringing awareness to mosquito control. I was able to bring my whole crew here tonight, so luckily this year seems to have a full crew, so we're looking forward to getting ripping and running here soon. We've been doing trainings for the past few weeks, and the mosquitoes are starting to show up, so be prepared. So.
Do you want to list their names, or do you want me to do it, because I have the list in front of me?
You can read the list off.
Okay, so Hunter Dearman is our supervisor, full-time Taylor Albright, and day provisionals Dylan Andrews, Mason Barker, Alex Huss, Jeremiah Hewitt, Kit Winter, and night provisionals include Colby Bigler, Cole Carpenter, Zane Ox, Bryce Carpenter, and Madison Yeager. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. We're just going to try to find gaps behind your head. Oh, that's right. What if council just goes around the outside?
Would you mind listening to me? I just
What if we go, where we go? Wait, I got an idea. Everybody stand up so you guys don't feel like we're looking down on you. And council just splits and goes around the edges.
You got it.
And then we'll just need a wider. Yeah, so you guys can make sort of like 2 rows here. Short folks in the front, long folks in the back, and everybody angle your shoulders in 90 to go over 25.
It's like you do this for,
Are you okay?
Yeah, I think
And if you can't see your camera, I can't see you. That's the only thing.
I could kneel down and stuff.
Are we all in there, Nancy?
Almost.
Just back up to the wall.
I know.
I'll check it, make sure.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay.
All right, thank you, guys. Ladies and gentlemen.
It's okay. It's the wedding photographer, man. Like, if nobody directs this, it's gonna take an hour and a half. And they got other places they like to be. All right. And as a heads up, I don't have the specifics on this, but there is a mosquito control awareness coloring contest that's happening right now. So if you've got kids, Ruby would like to challenge them to a mosquito drawing contest. All right. We're going to move on to Laramie Arbor Day celebration. Councilor Gabriel.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas this year, 2024, is the 152nd anniversary of the first Arbor Day in 1872. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Whereas the planting of trees is a vital step in developing civic pride and a sense of community by providing an abundance of environmental advantages, including battling increased carbon emissions, providing aesthetic advantages to citizens and wildlife wherever they are found. And whereas the state of Wyoming has designated the last Monday in April as the State Arbor Day, and all communities in Wyoming can designate their own Arbor Day based upon the climate conditions of the community. Whereas the governing body of the City of Laramie desires to participate in the annual celebration of Arbor Day, and whereas the City of Laramie has celebrated Arbor Day beginning in 1984, this year, 2024, will be Laramie's 41st Arbor Day celebration. Whereas the City of Laramie Arbor Day celebration will be held Tuesday, June 11th, 2024, 9 a.m. at Optimus Park, where 6 apple trees will be planted with the help of community volunteers. Now therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Laramie, do hereby proclaim June 11th, 2024 as Laramie's Arbor Day Tree Planting Day. We urge residents of Laramie to plant trees and to support our community's forestry program. In witness whereof, I, acting on behalf of Mayor Brian Harrington, have caused the official seal of the City of Laramie to be affixed to this proclamation this 4th day of June, 2024. And Kyle is here from the city.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Council. Forestry has a much smaller staff than mosquito, as you can notice. But so yes, this year the Arbor Day celebration is going to be held in Optimus Park, just south of the playground. Big open, empty spot. My vision for that area is to establish a fruit orchard. We can actually grow fruit trees in Laramie. Not many people are aware, so I just want to have this as a little project over however many years it's going to take to get some trees established for the community to come out, see what can all grow, and hopefully one day be able to pick apples, pick plums, grapes, you know, whatever, during the fall. So yes, that's what we got going on.
Thank you. Councilor Doherty, of course you can.
Will you label the trees so people know what varieties you have there?
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. So
Thank you.
they will. This year, we're going to start with 3 varieties. They will all have the labels remaining on them. And as we go and as this project grows, there will probably be some signage just to inform people what's going on out there. And of course, any questions can come into me too as far as educating.
Thank you, Counselor. Well, thank you. That sounds great. These proclamations are always a great way to start the meeting. We're going to move on. City Clerk, when you're ready, we'll move on to our public hearings.
I'm ready, Mayor.
Go ahead.
The first public hearing tonight is for the transfer of retail liquor license 26 from Crowbar and Grill LLC to Maverick Inc., doing business as Maverick, number 668, located at 1301 South 3rd Street. Notice is hereby given that on the 9th day of May 2024, an application was received in the office of the city clerk for a transfer of retail liquor license number 26 to transfer from Crowbar and Grill LLC to Maverick Inc., doing business as Maverick, number 668, located at 1301 South 3rd Street, Laramie, Wyoming, for a license term of June 5th, 2024 through May 7th, 2025. Public hearing to hear comments or protests relative to this license application will be held Tuesday, June 4th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at Council Chambers, 406 Ivinson Avenue, or via Zoom meeting ID 827-4015-7964, passcode 857176. Action on this application will be considered at the regular meeting of City Council on Tuesday, June 4th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in Council Chambers. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present or may be represented by his or her agent at the meeting.
Thank you, City Clerk. I'm going to open that public hearing to the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak can raise their hand on Zoom or come forward if you're in the room. And just a note for the applicants, you might stick around for the actual item when it comes up on the agenda. Okay, seeing none, I'll close that public hearing. City Clerk, recognize you for the next one.
The next public hearing is the new Bar and Grill liquor license number BG14 for LUG LLC, doing business as Crow Bar and Grill, located at 202 South 2nd Street. Notice is hereby given that on the 15th day of May 2024, an application was received in the office of the city clerk for a new Bar and Grill liquor license number BG14 for LUG LLC, doing business as Crow Bar and Grill, located at 202 South 2nd Street, Laramie, Wyoming, for a license term of June 5th, 2024 through May 7th, 2025. Public hearing to hear comments and protests relative to this license application will be held Tuesday, June 4th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at Council Chambers, 406 Ivinson Avenue, or via Zoom meeting ID 827-4017-7964, passcode 857176. Action on this application will be considered at the regular meeting of City Council on Tuesday, June 4th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in Council Chambers. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present or may be represented by his or her agent at the meeting.
Thank you, City Clerk. I'm going to open that public hearing. Any member of the public can raise their hand on Zoom or come forward in the room to speak. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And City Clerk, I will recognize you for the next one.
Okay. The next public hearing is for Spring Creek Final Plat,
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing of the Laramie City Council will be held at 6:30 PM on June 4th, 2024, in Council Chambers, Laramie City Hall, 406 Ivinson Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. The meeting shall be held both online, Zoom, and in person. Option to take public comments on the following: FP 23-03, a final plat proposing 16 single-family residential lots, 4 commercial lots, and 1 open space lot on a 7-acre property zoned B1 ROB district. The property is located generally at the northwest corner of 9th Street and Boswell Drive. The applicant for the project is the Spring Creek Investment, Jim Steffen. All applications, plans, and specifications relative to these matters are available for review at the City of Laramie Planning Office at 405 Grand Avenue, Laramie, Wyoming. Anyone wishing to be heard should be present at City Council chambers or via Zoom.
Thank you, City Clerk. I'm going to open that public hearing. Any member of the public can raise their hand on Zoom or come forward in the room to speak. Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing. And City Clerk, I'll recognize you one final time for the last public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. The last public hearing is for Resolution 2024-48, adopting the fiscal year 2025-26 biennium budget appropriations. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing on the budget for the City of Laramie, Wyoming for all funds for the 2024-25 fiscal year ending June 30, 2025, and for the General Fund, Utility Fund, Solid Waste Fund, Recreation Center Fund, and Capital Construction Fund for the 2025-26 fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026, which is now being considered by the City Council of said city, will be held Tuesday, June 4th, 2024 at 6:30 PM in Council Chambers at City Hall, 406 Ivinson, and via Zoom meeting, 827-4017-7964, passcode 857176, at which time any and all persons interested may appear and be heard respecting such budget. And Mayor, in the publication, there was a table of the budget.
Thank you, City Clerk. Any member of the public wishing to speak to this public hearing, come forward or raise your hand on Zoom. Seeing none, I will close that public hearing. Move on to staff or announcements. Assistant City Manager.
Honorable Mayor, it's been such a long beginning, I fell asleep there. No, we've got 2 announcements tonight, Mayor. First one will be from Recreation Manager Guerin on pool openings.
I just want to let you all know
One moment. We'll need you just to speak into the microphone. Just for the folks on Zoom.
All right.
Thank you.
The outdoor pool is scheduled to open on Saturday, the 8th, so we're excited about that. Keep your fingers crossed for the weather. Has to be a combined temperature of 65 degrees. That means weather, wind, and temperature combined, so keep your fingers crossed. We also have hours on Sunday this summer, so we'll be indoors and outdoors Saturdays, Sundays, so we're looking forward to that. And we have lifeguards. That's also good. We also have Touch a Truck coming up, which is going to be Saturday the 15th, and it's from 10 to 1 in the Ice and Event Center parking lot. Free event for the whole community, so come see the big trucks. Touch a Truck.
Thank you. Both of those are great. Any other announcements?
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, just want to let you know that the City of Laramie will be hosting Urban Renewal Agency or Urban Renewal Conference July 17th and 18th. We'll be at the Municipal Operations Center on the 17th with the location on the 18th to be determined. One of the initiatives by our own Laramie Urban Renewal Agency that moved out of our last meeting, so it's an impromptu conference where we're inviting urban renewal agencies from across the state, developers, state agencies, anybody involved to get together and discuss how we can spur development in the state of Wyoming. So we're excited to be part of that.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager, and thank the URA. It's a great idea. Okay, any other announcements? All right, disclosures by City Council members? All right, I'm going to go to Councilor Pierce for the approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the consent agenda be approved and that each specific action on the consent agenda be approved as indicated.
Second.
Motion by Pierce, seconded by O'Doherty. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson. Absent. Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville. Yes. Cumby, absent. Harrington.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. The consent agenda has been approved. We're going to go to Councilor O'Doherty for 10A.
I move to approve the Spring Creek Village Final Plat and associated emergency access agreement based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law, authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign the plat and emergency access agreement.
Second.
Motion by O'Doherty, second by Gabriel. Councilor O'Doherty, please, back to you.
I move to postpone the Spring Creek Village Final Plat and associated emergency access agreement to the June 18th, 2024 regular agenda.
Second.
Okay, that is motioned, the amendment is, or the postponement is motioned by O'Doherty, seconded by Gabriel. Council members, any discussion on the postponement or questions? Okay, we'll go to the public on postponement. Go ahead and come forward in the room or raise your hand on Zoom. Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment there. And council, last chance. All right. City Clerk, I'll have you call the roll on postponement.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson, absent. Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville. Sorry, Somerville. Absent.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Cumby. Absent. And Harrington.
Yes.
That's 7 yeses, 0 nos, and 2 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been postponed. We'll move on to item 11. Councilor Newman.
I move to approve Resolution 2024-48, making appropriations and authorizing expenditures for the city of Laramie, Wyoming for all funds for the fiscal year of July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, and for the General Fund, Utility Fund, Recreation Center Fund, Solid Waste Fund, and Capital Construction Fund for the fiscal year of July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Newman, seconded by O'Doherty. Director Wade, welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. The fiscal year 25-26 biennium budget is being recommended for adoption this evening. I feel like this evening is always an exciting one after spending 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 work sessions and several special meetings together. So in total, what I'd like to draw your attention to is that we've spent around 15 hours together reviewing the biennium budget, listening to your amendments, seeing you vote on those amendments, and I hope this has been a process that has been informative for you and members of the public, and I'd like to offer my gratitude to you and members of the public this evening for engaging with the city in this process. There's nothing more to be said that we haven't already covered during budget. The last thing I'd like to remind you, however, is that there is an 8 mil levy for property tax included as a source for funding in the budget, and we will be informing the county of our intention to levy those 8 mills. If the council do not have questions, that's all I have for you this evening.
Thank you, Director Wade. Councilors, any questions? We've obviously had plenty of time to ask our questions here, but all right, I'll turn it over to the public then. Thank you, Director Wade. Any members of the public wish to speak to the budget before the vote? You can go ahead and come forward in the room or raise your hand if you're on the Zoom call. Okay, seeing none, I'll close public comment. Back to the council for any comments. Councilor Pierce, please.
Yeah, I don't know if, we have an amazing staff who does an amazing job at putting all this together for us, and frankly for the community, to look and review at all our expenditures. Probably our most transparent document we actually have. So not that any of you are less transparent, but anyway, thank you guys for all your hard work.
Thank you, Councilor Pierce. Councilor Gabriel, please.
I would like to echo those sentiments and just express my appreciation. This has been my 4th total budget. Of course, we have the interims that we do every other year, but it's made so simple for counselors to understand, and that's really the important thing, and for the public.
I mean, you bring in all the statistics and all the numbers and everything, and it's amazing what you guys do, and we appreciate all the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Other comments, Council? Okay. Jen and your team, thank you. I know this year in particular has been a little bit heavier lift than usual, so thank you all. To Councilor Gabriel's point, it is a really easily digested document. I think that the usability of it and sort of the narrative form of our budget is pretty remarkable, and I know that takes sort of like an additional level of work beyond sort of just the spreadsheets, and we would all drown if you just threw those at us. So thank you for making it easy for us to handle and in turn the public, right? Because we aren't any more educated on these things than the public, other than the 15 hours that you all walk us through stuff. So I sure appreciate it. City Clerk, go ahead and call the roll, please.
Gabriel.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Richardson, absent. Pierce.
Yes.
Somerville. Absent. Shumway.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Cumby, absent. Harrington.
Yes.
That's 6 yeses, 0 noes, and 3 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We will move on to item 12. Councilor Gabriel, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the Laramie City Council approve Resolution 2024-49, amending the Laramie Parks and Recreation Master Fee Schedule, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Gabriel, seconded by Newman. Director Guerin?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and council members. You'll recall a couple of months ago, we discussed the need to update our master fee schedule, and that's what this is for you tonight. So I'm going to go through just a brief summary of it, and I'd be happy to answer questions. You've got the full detail in front of you in terms of the individual items. Big picture-wise, we are addressing our memberships and admissions with about a 10 to 12% increase. We're also raising rates for Adventure Kids, facilities, rentals. Those are, as opposed to a percentage increase, those are more of a market-based look at what it really costs us to offer the services for various things. In admissions, or excuse me, in ICE and Event Center, we're doing the same. We're looking at admissions and ICE time and a variety of rental sorts of costs. And then we're also updating our parks fees, which haven't been done in, I can't tell you how long. I don't even know if I was here when we did the last time we adjusted our fees. So that's kind of a summary. And in the cover sheet, you'll see the rough estimate for the rec center fund is the total that you see on that cover sheet of $119,000 being revenue that we anticipate will be generated from these changes. Our big picture plan is that this year we're seeing about a 10% increase in memberships and admissions and 5% with Adventure Kids. We intend to do that again next year. And as I was reviewing our fees and where we were when we started the rec center and where we are now, one thing that was striking is that our recreation center memberships have not gone up in fees. It's very negligible. Our adult memberships for an annual pass when we opened was estimated at $325 a membership, and it's now $350. So time is right to start looking at these membership fees. Our families, the household memberships have changed a little bit. We offer different options now for different numbers of people. We have a Parent Plus and we have a household membership, and you can add additional children at a small fee, but they're still in the same range. They were $600 when we opened. They're now $500 for a Parent Plus for an annual membership or $700 for a family. And then you'll see the monthly rates are similar. We offer our memberships now in a fashion where people can get in and out more easily, and so people don't have to feel stuck that they're going to be obligated to something long-term. If they just want to do it for a few months, they can do that. We have a lot of families that come in for swimming in the summer, and they'll do a family membership that way. So anyway, that's the assessment overall of what we're doing with our master fee schedule this year, and we are going to continue to refine and look at it. I noted in the ICE and Event Center schedule we need to adjust that and clean it up a little bit. We don't need as many things on there as we have on there. Most of our activities we handle not in this document, but through kind of a business assessment. So we, on a regular basis, we look at what are we spending on staff, what are we using for supplies, and what are we actually generating in revenue to keep those up to date. We have raised rates for our swimming lessons, a variety of different activities in youth sports, and so we're going to continue to do that on a regular basis. That's what I have for that, if you have any questions.
Thank you. Councilors, questions? Okay. We'll go to the public on this item. If there's any members of the public wishing to speak to this item, raise your hand on Zoom or come forward if you are in the room. Welcome. We'll
Good evening. Paul Montoya, 1974 Truman Street. I did have a question. The attachment that is part of the agenda today only lists the revenue increases for the different services. It doesn't get down to a master fee schedule. I wonder if that can be provided before the public comments anymore. I'd like to not see this resolved tonight without seeing the actual fee structure master schedule. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other members of the public wishing to speak to this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Back to the council for any comments. City Clerk, you can call the roll. Oh. As far as I'm concerned, unless a council member has that question, City Clerk can call the roll.
Seems like.
We don't really take questions from the public, right? We take comments. City Clerk, go ahead and call the roll.
Okay. Newman?
No.
O'Doherty?
Yes.
Pierce?
No.
Richardson? Absent. Shumway?
Yes.
Somerville? Absent. Cumby? Absent. Gabriel?
Yes.
Harrington?
Yes.
That's 4 yeses, 2 noes, and 3 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. That item is approved. Move on to item 13. Councilor Gabriel.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Resolution 2024-50, amending appropriations for the fiscal year 2023-2024 biennium budget for the city of Laramie, Wyoming, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Gabriel, seconded by O'Doherty. Welcome back.
Thank you. Welcome back, yes. Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a resolution to allow for the funding that is required to continue to pay staff in the Recreation Center Fund as required by law. Our trajectory at this point with our part-time staff will not be, the budget will not be adequate to complete the year. We knew that for the last couple of months going in, and we made sure that we were on track to have a refined number for you. And so what you see in the budget is an assessment of the total in those funds that will keep us operational and in good shape through the remainder of this year. Next year, you remember we have budgetary adjustments that will cover this. And we also anticipate that almost all of this is covered through revenue that is coming in. So it's not something that there's not money there for. If that doesn't make sense, please ask me questions. I went through a kind of an assessment of our cost recovery. And actually, although there's been a lot of discussion about wage increases and cost recovery, we are not that far off target for our history. Our target historically was high based on the operating pro forma that they provided us at the outset. The initial document indicated that between 60 and 80% for the first 3 years could be considered a good operating recovery, in fact, exceptional. They did an assessment after the first year of our operations, and we came in at 78% of operating recovery. We have stayed pretty much at that level until the pandemic hit us. And so now to be back to about 65, 68% cost recovery is really pretty good. And we are on target to exceed that in the succeeding years. So This budget amendment is going to address all three funds. When we did the munis updates, we had a little bit of jockeying with staff, some percentages between funds, because we have some funds that are accounted for in the general fund and some in the rec center fund. We had some staff that ended in one budget or the other, and so we're just making sure that those are all taken care of. People are in the right funds. It's kind of complicated, and I apologize for that, but I have some people who are in the general recreation fund and in the rec center fund, and if their allocation isn't appropriately allocated, one fund will be over, one fund will be under. So the amounts that you see here total $130,000, $20,000 for the general recreation fund, $10,000 for the Ice and Event Center, and $100,000 in the rec center fund. I will also tell you that the Ice and Event Center is going to exceed its expectations in terms of revenue this year by quite a lot. So I was really proud of that. And then also our Adventure Kids program is doing really well. And admissions are on track to get very close to $1 million this year. So feeling pretty good about that. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Council members, any questions? Councilor Newman, please.
What was the cost recovery percentage that you said?
I'd have to look specifically. If you'll hold on just a moment.
Sure.
I hope you'll recognize also that we are not quite through the fiscal year.
Sure.
And so some of this is projected based on expenses and history. I am at, let's see, 53% this year. No, that's next year. 64% this year.
Do you think we'll ever get to 100%?
No, not based on council direction. There's always been direction that we want to not charge the full cost of services because we feel like the incomes in our, for the citizens in our community can't quite bear that. And so at the outset, there was always an anticipation that the general fund would fund a part of it.
Thank you, Councilor. Other questions? Councilor Doherty, please.
I just want to thank you for trying to balance this and make it available. And I have several loved ones that take advantage, that have disabilities and take advantage of the rec center, and they don't find it cost prohibitive, even though they're, they're low income. So it's really been helpful, and I do think it's a public good, like our streets and our art and all that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Doherty. Other questions, comments? Well, we can take comments, sure. Yeah. Sure. Councilor Doherty, and then I'll come to you, Councilor. Please. Sorry, Councilor Shumway.
Thank you, Your Honor. Obviously, we've been doing this for many years, and I don't believe that there's any city recreation facility that recovers 100%. I don't think they exist in the United States. Now, there may be some, but the diminishing returns and participation would, if it goes up to where it's 100%, I don't think that we would have a very good turnout for people that would become unaffordable. And so I support, the city subsidizing the recreation center and the Ice and Event Center. It's been something that's been utilized, and it's a very, very busy place, and it's a great asset to the community. So I support what the city staff is doing. I support what we are doing as a council and as a city. I think that this is a great addition, and I'm proud to have those facilities available to all of us.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilor Gabriel.
Well said. Councilor Shumway, that's enough.
Took the words out of my mouth, too. All right, we'll go to the public on this item. If there's any member of the public wishing to speak to this, you can go ahead and come forward or raise your hand if you're on the Zoom call. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Councilor's last chance to go ahead and echo what Councilor Shumway said. All right. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Gabriel.
Yes.
O'Doherty. Yes. Richardson, absent. Somerville, absent. Shumway.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Cumby, absent. Harrington.
Yes.
That's 6 yeses, 0 nos, and 3 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We'll move on to item 14. Councilor Pierce.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the application to transfer retail liquor license number 26 from Crowbar and Grill LLC to Maverick Industries DBA Maverick number 668 located at 1301 South 3rd Street, Laramie, Wyoming, for the licensing term of June 5th, 2024 through May 7, 2025, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motioned by Pierce, seconded by O'Doherty. City Clerk, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So on May 9th of this year, we received an application in my office for a transfer of the liquor license from the current owner, Crowbar and Grill LLC, to Maverick Inc. Store number 668 will be operating in that location at 1301 South 3rd Street. So this is changing ownership and location. The new owners plan to operate it as a package store. They'd come in, purchase the alcohol for consumption off premise. And I have inspected the location with no concerns. When they built the location, they had a cold storage area already created for it with some backstock that's under a lock, a keypad and stuff. So I feel like their plan for alcohol is in order with what the city would like to see for maintenance of that. We do have one of the regional, you'd have to tell me her exact title, but we have Uenta here from corporate, so if you have any questions, she's happy to answer. We also have Andy Glines, who's the person that's transferring from, if you have any questions.
Thank you. Welcome.
Honorable Mayor and City Council members, my name is Utana Archuleta, and I'm the licensing manager for Maverick Inc., and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have for me in regards to the store and us receiving the license.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. Council members, any questions? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry for that. Every time I've said your name, I said it wrong.
All right. No questions, council members? Mr. Glines, do you have anything to say? Okay, great. Any members of the public wish to speak to this item? You can go ahead and come forward in the room or raise your hand if you're on the Zoom call. All right, we'll close public comment. Back to the council for any comments. All right. Best of luck. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson, absent. Shumway.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Somerville. Absent. Cumby. Absent. Harrington.
Yes.
That's 6 yeses, 0 nos, and 3 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We'll go now to item 15 and recognize Councilor Pierce.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the application for new bar and grill license number BG-14 for LUG LLC DBA Crowbar and Grill located at 202 South 2nd Street, Laramie, Wyoming, for a licensing term June 5, 2024 through May 7, 2025, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Motion by Pierce, seconded by Gabriel. City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 15th day of May, we received an application for a new bar and grill. Andy Glines, owner of Crowbar and Grill LLC, has sold the business to LUG LLC. And so with that, they wanted to apply for a new bar and grill license to operate in that location at 202 South 2nd Street. Their plan is to maintain a similar operation. However, we're moving from a retail liquor license in that location to now a bar and grill, which means it's for on-premise consumption only. So no off-premise sales. We've gone over that with the new owner, and Tim is here today if you have any questions. But with that, I don't have any concerns with what we've talked about. He does know that they do have to meet a 60% food sales, and only 40% can be alcohol sales. Also, with a bar and grill liquor license, they do have to maintain food sales for all hours that they offer alcohol. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions as well as Tim.
Thank you. Counselor Pierce?
Yeah, thanks. Did they have to change the layout at all of the establishment? It's probably in our packet, and I know he looks like he's ready to jump in. So
City Clerk, go ahead.
the way they've constructed Crowbar under the previous ownership, it's already constructed in a way that is amenable. Yeah. With the bar and grill liquor license, they're allowed to operate the bar. So they can have folks sit at the bar and serve straight across, and that's not a problem. So the biggest change for them is that they can't sell any off-premise consumption and can no longer cater events. You know, the alcohol, they can't cater.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Counselor Pierce. Other questions, council members? Okay. We'll go to the public unless the applicant, if you have anything to add, you're welcome.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Great. Thank you. All right. We'll open it to the floor to the public. If any member of the public wishes to speak to this bar and grill license, go ahead and come forward or raise your hand if you're on the Zoom call. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Back to the council for any comments before the vote. Okay. Best of luck, Tim. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson, absent. Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville, absent. Cumby, absent. Harrington.
Yes.
That's 6 yeses, 0 nos, and 3 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. That item has been approved. We will move on to item 16. Councilor Shumway.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to approve the settlement agreement and release of all claims resolving McKinney Construction et al. Versus the City of Laramie and Albany County, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign.
Second.
Moved by Shumway, second by O'Doherty. City Attorney, welcome.
Mayor and council, as you know, about a year and a half ago, Mr. McKinney and his wife and his business sued the city and the county, claiming that the city and county were not allowing him legal access for a subdivision that he planned on his property, the subdivisions in the county, and he believed that he had access through Imperial Heights subdivision. So that litigation has been pending for quite a while. In April, the county, the city, another adjacent property owner, Mr. Sean Moore and his family participated with the McKinneys in a day-long mediation to resolve this litigation, and this settlement agreement is the result of that mediation and what everyone agreed upon. It requires Mr. McKinney will no longer, when everything's done in this agreement, he will not be able to access his subdivision through Imperial Heights subdivision. He will build a road from his property in the county down to Vista and Grand. The city will finish the signalization of that intersection. It's already signalized, but we have to put in a light that faces toward the McKinney property and the Sean Moore property. And there will also be money paid to the McKinneys, both by the county and by the city's insurance company, Warm. I can go through any other details. I'm here to answer questions.
Council members, do you have any questions? Okay, thank you, City Attorney. We'll turn this over to the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak to this item is welcome to come forward and do so, or raise your hand if you're on Zoom. Okay, I'll close public comment. Back to the council. Comments before the vote? Thank you, City Attorney, for your work on this. Sure appreciate it. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Shumway.
Yes.
Richardson, absent. Pierce.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Somerville, absent. Cumby, absent. Harrington.
Yes.
That's 6 yeses, 0 nos, and 3 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item has been approved. We'll move on to item 17. Councilmember Newman.
I move to approve original ordinance number 2086 on first reading, adopting the 2024 Urban System Project Priority List and the 2024 Master Street Plan Map as presented.
Second.
Motion by Newman, seconded by Shumway. Mr. Gabatuller, welcome.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council. The purpose of the Urban Systems Advisory Committee is to evaluate the transportation needs in our area and compile and prioritize a list of potential improvements constrained by available federal and local matching funds. In your packet tonight, you can see the priority list we have that was reviewed by both the USAC group and at their March 26 meeting, as well as Planning Commission at their May 13th meeting. The priority list has remains unchanged from 2023, so that is the same list in your packet tonight that we adopted last year. The major street plan, there were 2 amendments that were proposed and recommended for approval by both of the bodies. Ivinson Street from 15th to 9th was, or Ivinson from 15th to 3rd was recommended to be listed as a collector street, and then Bradley from 15th to 9th as well. The reason for those changes was to accommodate traffic and transit operations, notably due to the University of Wyoming's use of these streets and the close proximity to the placement of the parking garage on Ivinson. So again, these 2 changes were recommended for approval by the committee as well as the Planning Commission at their meetings, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilors, any questions? Councilor Pierce, please.
Yeah, thank you. So this may be like my stupid question for the evening, but I don't recall ever having an ordinance related to the priority list or the master street plan. And I'm wondering if this is new. Actually having an ordinance for this. I mean, we've had resolutions for many, many years and discussion on this approval process and all of that. I'm just curious if I'm forgetting something or if this is a new process to have an ordinance. And maybe statute has changed and we need an ordinance, I don't know, but I'm just wondering.
Honorable Mayor, through you, these 2, the major street plan priority list and the map itself, need to be adopted through ordinance, and it was done this way last year and in preceding years. So we have always done 3 readings, as far as I understand it.
So it's just me then, right? Okay, that's all I want to know.
Mayor, if I could offer, just on a quick search, back to 1981, I see that we've had some.
Perfect, thank you.
There's no stupid questions, Councilor Pierce.
Well, that was mine for the evening, so.
Councilors, other questions? Councilor Doherty, please.
I missed the part about Ivinson, so now I'm worried, well, our dream of a bike boulevard, is that down the tubes if that becomes a collector street?
Honorable Mayor, through you, I can't answer that question directly, given that, the standards for a collector street are actually, wider than a local road, which it currently is. So it could possibly accommodate, there is right-of-way there to accommodate a collector street and the full road width and everything required. So to your point, I can't speak directly to whether that destroys the idea of a bike boulevard, but it's actually a wider street that's being proposed in the future.
Thank you.
Other questions, council members? Mr. Gabatuller, with this, if we're So we've discussed in the past reconstruction of Ivinson with this sort of like more pedestrian-friendly or multimodal opportunity to connect the campus to downtown. And if we are talking about a wider street, there's obviously a need for a rebuild of Ivinson. I don't think anyone's driven Ivinson that didn't think, boy, this street could use some work, and certainly through campus. And so I'm knowing that that is imminent. Do you happen to know, I mean, it seems to me the wider street would require more costs, certainly, but does it require sort of like quite literally making the street wider and sort of taking the, I think we call them courtesy strips, that section of right-of-way? Does it require removal of those and making those roadway if it is a collector when we rebuild?
Honorable Mayor, yes. So just a little, to differentiate between a local road and a collector, I mean, we're looking at the right-of-way width is 60 feet for a local and 80 feet for collector, and then the actual recommended roadway width for those two is 46 feet and 52. So not to get too in the weeds on this, but there's a lot of different ways that a road could be reconstructed, right? I mean, just because it's suggested as a collector, I mean, there's ways to widen the road and still accommodate safely bicycles and have kind of a complete street plan for that road. But I think mainly with the increased traffic there, I mean, Ivinson's being looked at and was considered for USAC as being upgraded. Because of all traffic, really. I mean, not just cars, but I mean, there's a lot of people crossing the street to go to the parking garage, obviously a lot of bicyclists. So I hope that gets to your point. Just because it's upgraded to a collector, our code, it states that it's a recommended roadway width. So it can be variable and would certainly be engineered in a way that would meet council goals and so forth.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to balance the, also the additional cost of, if we just make it wider, and I understand that we don't have to now, but it makes this feel even harder to accomplish, to get Ivinson finished, and we all know how challenging it is already to fund that project. So that was more of where I was thinking. Obviously, the sort of complete streets concept is in my mind as well. So I appreciate you touching on that. And I think additionally, beyond the parking garage section, I think beyond the parking garage section, the courthouse is also like a meaningful area of pretty intense pedestrian and vehicle traffic, right? There's cars in and out all day and people biking, next to a car every 30 seconds pulling out. So I'm not opposed to this idea, just it sort of, it flagged for me initially because of those other concepts. But anyways.
Yeah, I would add too, Honorable Mayor, to those points is that, the priority list is geared towards like a cost sharing program, right, with federal funds that are going to go through WIDOT. So, I mean, it wouldn't be, all local monies that would pay for this. This is what the list is geared towards, is kind of more higher level of vision, more broader type projects. But I think another point to note as well between the difference between a local and a collector is the number of accesses that can be that can go into a collector in the future. It is much more constrained or restricted as far as the intervals. And I know Ivinson is for the most part built up. I mean, it's pretty much a grid the whole way, but any businesses or anything directly off of Ivinson would have to consider how close the access point is to the intersection of Ivinson and you name it, 8, 7, whatever it is. So that is another thing to consider with that upgrade.
And does that mean, so driveways on Ivinson and driveways on cross streets within some proximity?
Right, okay. To the intersection. Yes.
Okay. Councilor Pierce?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm wondering if there is at all an appetite to separate these two proposals. because I personally am very supportive of the priority list, right? I'm having some hesitations and more questions related to the major street plan. So I know we can separate, Nancy, you'll have to help me out here on my Robert's rules, but I know we can do this, and I'm just wondering if that might not be a good idea.
Can I make one request just before we get too in the weeds?
Yeah.
Because it's an ordinance, maybe we sort this out before second reading? Would that be?
Could we do that way, though? Or will it always come before us as one instead of two?
So if we divided the question, we would need an ordinance for both pieces of this, correct? We'd have
Exactly.
ordinance running concurrently, so you would be asking for on first reading them to divide, and then would they come back on second reading then as two separate ordinances?
That would be correct, Mayor.
Okay, then forget what I said, Councilor Pierce.
So what did you say, though?
I feel that. I'm looking now to try to sort out your.
So, Mayor, if we were to divide the question, it does take a majority vote, and so it'd be a motion to divide the question into the two sections, the priority list and the major street plan. And then we would vote separately on each section.
Councilor Pierce.
So I'll go ahead and give it a whirl and see what happens. So I'd like to move to divide the question into two separate ordinances, one for the urban systems priority list and one for the major street plan.
Second.
Motion by Pierce, seconded by Shumway. All right. On the division itself, right, Councilor Newman.
So I'm glad you did this, because I remembered when we had the meeting about this, the priority list, there was no discussion, but then the major street plan, we had, I believe it was you that brought up, Councilor Pierce, why are we going to throw some money into this collector street if there was a possibility that the university could take it over at some point? I remember discussion on that at the meeting, so that's why I would favor this, so we could have more discussion.
Other discussion on Councilor Doherty?
I favor dividing it. I'm wondering about how that sits timing-wise, but I thought we were having a street study or a traffic or something study that we have the grant, and so could our major street plan wait for that? Would that cause a problem?
Councilor Pierce, please.
In addition to what Councilor Newman mentioned, I'm mostly concerned about what Councilor Doherty mentioned in terms of the bike paths and other alternative means of transportation location. And I think that's what we're all kind of want perhaps to run together or at least be reflected. Now, that's not to say that it couldn't be added, right, at some point, but I guess we want to talk about the timing of that as well.
Timing in regard is how they come back to council? Or
No,
timing in
timing in
regard to the
terms of-
structure with the traffic study?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions, council members, on the division itself? Okay. We will go to the public on the division. You'll have a chance on the entire thing, or I guess on both things in a moment. Okay. Seeing no public comment, back to the council for any comments before we vote. Councilor O'Doherty?
I was wondering if we could hear from Mr. Gabatuller on this idea.
Mr. Gabatuller, do you have any opinion you'd like to share on dividing the USAC list and the master streets plan into separate concurrent ordinances? Maybe concurrent's wrong, but.
Yes, so Honorable Mayor, it's not something we've historically done. I would say staff recommendation would be if there is concern about the major street plan map itself, that we work through that in this ordinance process, given that dividing it, if one is approved and then the other needs, if the if changes are made, then it needs to go back to the USAC committee, which would throw out off the timing. So my recommendation would be to keep it as one. And it's fine if we make changes and have to do it or bring it back to USAC, but keeping them together timing-wise, we have to do this at least annually. So it would prevent future councils from having to do 2 ordinances, but if we want to do it that way, it's obviously up to your discretion. That's my recommendation.
Okay, and I'm not sure that this would bind a future council to doing them separately, I suppose, right? City Clerk, the ordinance could be recommended by staff, as it has since 1981, next year, right? But, okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Mr. Geptula. Councilors, any comments on division itself? Councilor Shumway, please.
I think I agree with our staff on this. We can work on this together, but my concern is this. First of all, let me just say this. The priority list probably is not going to change, and we don't have funding for any projects probably for the next 10, 15 years at least, because they're already set out in that priority list on what we're going to use USAC funding for. But I do agree that the benefits to the city are not as defined as I would like them to be with the proposal here. I think the benefits are to the university, and we'll end up with, as they expand, having that disappear after we've made the improvements with city funds. So I don't know where to go with this. I think that we can deal with it as with one ordinance rather than 2, because we're not changing the funding. The funding that's available for USAC projects are going to stay on that priority list, and they're not going to move off of that from what I understand.
Thank you, council member. Other comments? Councilor Newman, please.
I do have a comment. It's more on well, it'll fit because both of them would be on first reading. Every time that we say we're going to work on something, hey, this really needs fixed, and then it goes to second reading, it never gets worked on. Some of it does, but some of it doesn't. So I want to make sure that, either way that this goes on first reading, there needs to be discussion on what needs to change, and it actually be brought back by staff on what needs to be changed.
Councilor Newman, just by way of a maybe you were owed this earlier. If you want a change, maybe just go to staff and say, I need this changed, and they'll help you. Forgive me. My bad. Talking with my hands more than I can control. But I think that would be the process, and then you would bring it at the next meeting. But they'll help you behind the scenes, work on whatever you need. So, but they probably wouldn't bring back the sort of they won't do policy for us, right? So, all right. Other comments, council members? I would just use my one power of a last word here to resist the division, because I'm not sure that there's anything we can't accomplish with an amendment on one ordinance that you would accomplish otherwise in 2, unless, well, even then, I think there's nothing that can't be accomplished by doing these at the same time. If you want to make changes, remove one of these streets, do something of that sort, you can do that as an amendment to the existing ordinance, and then on a practical matter, we save the time of going through 2 ordinances for the next 6 weeks. Purely practical on that approach, but I just don't see any meaningful change between a division and not a division. So, City Clerk, I'll have you call the roll on division.
Gabriel.
No.
Newman.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
No.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson, absent. Shumway.
No.
Somerville, absent. Cumby, absent. Harrington.
No.
That's 2 yeses, 4 noes, and 3 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. Division has failed. We'll move back to the main motion. Councilors, any discussion on the main motion? Councilor Newman.
If we do make a motion to remove those as collector streets, doesn't it have to go back to the urban system anyways? So, okay.
Thank you, Councilor. Other questions?
I never even,
Councilor Doherty.
sorry.
You're
I
okay.
never even saw Ivinson on the USAC stuff, so I don't know what my reading problem is. So I don't know what they have to do with Ivinson, so I'm so
Mr. Gavatula,
confused.
please.
Honorable Mayor, through you, I need clarification on the question.
Councilor Doherty, please.
So when I was looking at the USAC documents, I see streets mentioned, and I didn't see Ivinson mentioned. But the only place I see it, and maybe I'm just not a very thorough reader, is just on the map with now there's purple lines, and then what you just told us. So I didn't know what that has to do with USAC, because they don't pay for, would they be paying for that?
Honorable Mayor, through you, in your cover sheet, it wasn't mentioned, but in the staff report, in the Planning Commission staff report, it is, and it's on the map as well.
Any follow-up to that, Councilor Doherty, or are you okay? Okay. Other questions? Councilor Shumway, please.
Well, urban systems money will not be used to pay for the map. That will be done with the Urban Systems Committee when we get together and propose the changes to the map. We'll adopt that, and that will not be any funding through urban systems to pay for that. That'll just be time that the staff and the committee spend, is my understanding.
Thank you, Councilor. Other questions? Councilor Pierce, please.
Not necessarily a question, but I think, Councilor Shumway, I think you're almost spot on, because, and I don't mean to, dice whatever, be really nitpicky, but the priority list is a list that we work with YDOT, pass through federal funds into the state of Wyoming, and they are on extremely long-term, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road view of mostly big projects and future projects. I mean, we've been talking about Bill Nye for a very, very long time. It's on the list and it's in process, right? So and then there's 3 other roads that we will hopefully in the future seek funding for with our partners from the state and the feds and run through. And those funds that we get are really minuscule in the big overall cost of the project, right? I mean, we're talking $500,000 here, I mean, it's not like, I guess that's a lot of money, but in the big picture of doing some of these road projects, it's really not. So that's what that priority list is all about. It's about future needs and roads, right? The other list, and that was my reason for thinking about a potential division, is that other list is how we look at our current streets, right? And their functionality in terms of width and somebody can correct me if I've got this all screwed up, but in terms of potential projects and what we're using more of our everyday current streets and street projects for. And those projects, potentially a whole different bucket of money in terms of capital funds and projects, and a whole different priority list based on what they do over in Public Works in terms of, water and storm and drainage and all those things. Not that those other projects don't have those included, but the master major street plan is basically more current, right? Or has the probability of being more current. Am I close? I mean, I think.
Mayor, if I could try to help out a little bit of clarity.
Please, assistance.
As I understand it, in order to be eligible for USAC funding, all roads that need to be identified on the major street plan to be used as they are. What I would speculate is the change, if not attended the USAC meeting, is that to enable us to get Ivinson onto a future USAC project, which every little bit helps, we need to identify it as a certain standard of road. Now, what I believe council's toiling with is we want to make sure that by identifying that standard of road, that next week or 2 weeks when we come back, we can assure you that we don't lose the ability to become a complete street through that addition, correct? So in order for this Ivinson Road to gain USAC money in the future, if it's available, we need to identify it on the major street plan, and that's why they ride together in my mind. Does that seem correct?
No, that's right, yeah, and every locality in Wyoming does this, and then WYDOT has kind of this priority list that they can go through and, based on their goals and objectives, work with, the localities to, identify the best projects for them to fund. Cost sharing, of course.
Thank you both. Councilor Pierce, is that sufficient?
Yeah.
Okay. Council members, any other questions? Okay, we'll go to the public on this item. Any member of the public wishing to speak can come forward. Just go till you got one behind you. Welcome.
Paul Montoya, 1974 Truman Street. This is rather frustrating, folks. A year ago, I came to you asking for an amendment to one of the streets to be changed and extended as part of this USAC plan. You had decided, in respect for USAC and the committee and the Planning Commission, that you wouldn't ask for that amendment. Now you're asking for an amendment that's being brought to you by the planning. By the way, that never went before USAC, even though I was promised by one of the council members that it would go before USAC to see that street extended on the map. And to my knowledge, it has not done, that hasn't happened. And yet now you're asking for an amendment and for it to go back to USAC. You're going back on what you decided last year. And I don't know why this council has to be so wishy-washy in its way and its approach to handling issues like this.
Appreciate your comments. Any other members of the public wish to speak to the council on this item? Okay, seeing none, we will close public comment. Back to the council for any comments before the vote. Councilor Doherty, please.
I have a comment that street planning is a very slow-moving process. And when one person requests a change to our whole street plan, we had people that didn't want their street to be a collector road anymore, even though it's been that way since Laramie. So it's a slow process, and I wouldn't say we're wishy-washy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Newman?
I'm a vote no, just so I can make some motions for a second reading, just so you guys know why I'm voting no.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, City Clerk, please call the roll on this item.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Newman.
No.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Richardson. Absent. Shumway.
Yes.
Somerville. Absent. Cumby. Absent. Harrington.
Yes.
That's 5 yeses, 1 no, and 3 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Clerk. That item is passed first reading. We'll move on to public comments on non-agenda items. If you wish to make a public comment on an item not on our agenda, go ahead and come forward in the room or raise your hand if you are on the Zoom call. Okay, seeing none, we will close public comment. Council members, do you have any considerations for future work session topics? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to recognize Councilor Pierce for item 20.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I move that we adjourn to executive session regarding litigation, Wyoming statute 16-4-405, lowercase a, Roman numeral 3.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Pierce, seconded by O'Doherty. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. All right, council members, we'll take 10 minutes or so.